Hello, fellow virtual learners. I have an important announcement to make. We had some bumps in the road last week. Some of you got off to a great start, but a few of us maybe had some technical difficulties, or maybe we registered late and are just getting started. And so I want to make an announcement about when we are going to be doing which lessons. Now, the first thing, a very important thing to note, is this is a self-paced course, meaning that you really can work ahead if you want to. Of course, we don't want you to rush through, but if you're ahead of the game, that's okay to do. And if you had technical difficulties, then we are, of course, going to extend you grace as you work hard to get caught up. Okay, so don't worry about that. And you've learned a lot and you've seen those due dates and you've been looking at your to-do list where your blue dots appear. So I know you've been learning that. But right now, those due dates are not changing on your Pearson Connexus. But we wanted to share a calendar with you that's going to kind of back up a little bit. And this is going to be some suggestions from your language arts teachers on when you could be doing the lessons. Okay? Some of you are ahead of these, and some of you are going to have to work to get to this point. But these are some suggestions from us, and they don't necessarily reflect the due date that you see on Pearson, at least as of right now, okay? And those due dates will be changing, like we've already mentioned. We want them to show up that the units will be due on Sunday, and you have all week to finish them. And right now, that's not being reflected, okay? So those will be changing anyway. But since that didn't happen yet, we're just so excited for you to kind of see what our thoughts are. We wanted to get this out to you. So you'll see that on Monday, you'll be starting day 1 of Unit 2. And on Friday, day 5 of Unit 2 is something that you'll be completing. And that's really the end of the unit. And then the next Monday, you just start day 1 again of the next unit. Now, we don't have school next Monday. I'm talking about the 7th. So we made it pretty simple for you just to kind of do a couple of days worth of work together, and you'll see that we let you skip a couple of those little sections, and we'll get this calendar out to you. Or you could even pause the video and jot it down right now, what lessons you can skip or what sections of the lessons you can skip. But I am really excited to show this to you so that you can kind of get a feel for what we are thinking of where you should be. And our live lessons that we do with you will reflect this. This is kind of where we will be thinking that you are about at this point. Okay, so on the 10th, we're thinking you're about Unit 3, Day 4. Okay, and this is not a lot different than what you'll see on the Pearson Connexus, but it's a little bit different. And this will really help some of you who had some technical difficulties get caught up. So let me show you a little bit in case some of you are looking at Unit 2 thinking, what is Unit 2? Which, by the way, on this calendar at the bottom, it does explain that for you. But let's look at that and what that looks like, okay? So I see that all of these file folders here in my course are units. And this 3rd grade, Unit 2, is story time, okay? For 4th grade, Unit 2 is clever ideas. And for 5th grade, Unit 2 is meeting a need. And some of you might be thinking, why not Unit 1? Well, if you've already done it, Unit 1 is really just a super, super short unit with just one little lesson, I think. Let's see. It's just a super, super short unit just to give you an overview. Yeah, with one little lesson. Okay, so let's go ahead and look inside Unit 2 for 3rd grade. And this will be very similar for all the grades. When I first look in, I'm going to see that my lessons are actually called Day 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So on this screen, it's pretty easy for me to see what a day looks like. But once I get in there, it's a little bit harder to see. And our live lessons this week are going to be helping you through that. Now, mine looks a little longer than yours does because I'm the teacher. But you'll notice that once you get in there, yours looks exactly like this to start with. And look at the top. Notice that it says 2.1.1. That first number 2 is your unit. Okay. And then notice that when it says 1, that's talking about the day. And you can look over here, day 1. Now, after you've read this and you mark it complete, which is clicking the blue box here, you go to the next activity down here. I still show day 1 because, of course, I needed to do more than simply read one page and read a little section. Okay? I'm still on day 1. I can always look back up here to tell that I've not made it to day 2 yet. Okay? In fact, I will know that I'm on day 2. Let me kind of fast forward here. I'm going to fast forward so you can see we start getting a little closer to day 2. Let's go down here to our instruction. I will know that I'm on, let's see, here I am. I'm still on day 1, but notice I'm getting a little closer. Now, a lot of times when you get to the 7, that's actually the end of it all, but sometimes it'll go all the way through 9 like this one does. So I'm going to keep clicking through. I see that at the top I'm on day 1. Oh, let me point out this review. Notice that it tells you for additional practice, you may complete any of these. For the review, if you need to stop and ask yourself, for instance, can you identify a fantasy story and note key details in the text? You can talk about that with your learning coach. If that's something you can do, you don't have to do the review here. That's additional practice for you. Okay, I just want to point that review out for you. Okay, but you always have one thing after the review, and it's very important, and it's called an assessment. Now you're seeing a few extra things on mine. Assessment is another way to say show what you know. So when you have the assessment, and sometimes it's 9.9, and sometimes it's a little bit before that. I'm on day 1 still. But after I do the assessment, I'm going to see if I were to keep clicking, I would get to day 2 at the top. Another way to tell I'm on day 2 is I have new objectives, new goals, new things to start. So I hope that kind of helps you get a feel for what we're working on and doing. It does tell you down here, if it says work until, like for instance, 4.5.9, if the end of that unit ends on 4.5.7, well, you stop at 7. You don't have to go through 9, okay? I just did through 9 because the different grade levels end sometimes on slightly different numbers, but nobody goes past 0.9, okay? I hope this kind of helps you understand a little bit about what you're supposed to do within each day. Of course, don't forget to check your announcements, and don't forget to check your webmail. I'll see you at the next live lesson.